Alright, today we are going to go over, I guess, grids, coordinates, things of that nature. So let's look at this grid, and we're just going to go over some basics and answer these questions. So first, this grid is not labeled, which is kind of silly, so we're just going to label it. Now this star right here is at 0, 0. Okay? And this is how you are going to see coordinates. Now the first, this is the x and y axis. Okay? X is horizontal and is always labeled first, and y is vertical, right? Horizontal is across, y is, and vertical is up and down, and then basically it just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then it would go on. If the grid was bigger, it could go 11, 12, etc., etc., and then it's the same thing on the y-axis. Okay? Six, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So, right here, we are going to look at this, okay, and let's look at what the coordinates of D would be. Let's just look at that. So D is, I would go over 4, and then I would go up 1. So that means that it would be, for D, so D would equal, in parentheses, 4, comma, 1. And as I said, the x always comes first, so the x-axis always comes first. So 4, I go over 4, and I go up 1. So D would be at 4, 1. Now let's answer some of these questions. Which tree is closest to the house? That would be B, and B is at 2, 2, because I go over 2, and then I go up 2. So B, 2, 2. Okay? Which tree is furthest from the house? Alright, well, I guess I would say A, right? And A would be 5, 10, right? Because you go over 5 and you go up 10. So 5, 10, right? And that's A. If you were to go 3 yards east and 6 yards north from the house, which tree would you end up at? So, if we're talking about a map, right, it is north, south, east, west, right? You can just think about, where the east and west coast are in America. That's what I usually think about when I'm thinking about a map. So I know the east coast is always on the right side of the map. The west coast is always on the left side, right? So this is north, south, east, west. So if we're going from the house, which they say is the, according to this this little diagram here, this little key, it says that the star at 0, 0 is the house. So if you were to go 3 yards east, 1, 2, 3, right, it would be here, and then you would go 6 north, which would be up. Where would you go? And you would go right to C, right? So it would be, which is at 3, 6. Okay? Which tree is further east? Tree F or tree E? So we have F and we have E. Obviously, since east is to the right, E would be further east. And what is the coordinates of E? We go over 7, right? And we go up 7, right? So 7, 7. And let's see number 5. Paul wanted to plant a new tree, but wanted to make sure it was at least 2 yards from a pre-existing tree. Okay, should he plant a tree 6 yards east and 9 yards north of his house? Alright, so let's find out 6 yards east, 9 yards north of his house. Okay, so that would be right there. He says he wants it to be at least 2 yards from a pre-existing tree. I can tell you right now, A is 1 yard away, because each of these are squares, and I know if each square is 1 square yard, so that means that this, the length is a yard, the width is a yard, and also across is a yard in a square. Okay, so that means that should he plant a tree 6 yards east and 9 yards north of his house? Absolutely not. That would be too close to a tree. He could plant a tree, you know, anywhere in these coordinates, anywhere in this box right here would be far enough away, right? Could plant one over here. You could plant one in a bunch of different places, but this place in particular, he could not. So that's kind of the basics of graphing and coordinates on a plane. It's not too tricky, really, as long as you know that the horizontal is the x-axis, the vertical is the y-axis, and when you're naming them, you always put the horizontal or x-axis first and the y-axis second. To be honest, it's quite straightforward, so shouldn't be too hard.